Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Um, I'm I'm Azmil from Malaysia. I'm a photographer, engineer, and Blender hobbyist. So I've been using Blender for years now. Actually, I just do basic stuff. It's just a hobby. Um, but recently with Blender 3.0, and actually before that there was a introduction to geometry nodes, right? Geometry nodes is really cool, interesting. I never did use it before because I think it was early stage and it sounds complicated. So with release of Blender 3.0, so it's more mature. So I was looking a lot of video on geometry nodes, and it can do a lot of cool stuff, and seriously cool stuff. So I always interested to build a world. I like try to design a game, but I never create a full set of games. But this one is about creating a world, right? A random world. So I was looking through a videos, right? Uh, and I found great tutorial by Mr. Erindale. So Erindale created this cool world, cool tutorial, uh, geometry node hex world. So it creates this plane. What he wants to replicate was from another guy, from another video, right? Uh, this is by another person. I don't have the link for this other guy that was created using a different tool and not with geometry nodes. And he wants to replicate that in Blender and be with geometry nodes. And it was really nice, interesting, and then whatnot, right? So the thing is, first of all, he created a hexagon grid, right? So the way he creates the grid is so cool, so much math, and get a grid, something like this, move around and whatnot. And then there's a lot of grids, a lot of grids, right? A lot of grids using a geometry node. It's for me. I do understand how he does it, and then uh, as a beginner, it's a bit overwhelming. That's a lot of things. As a beginner on geometry nodes, overwhelming. I mean, it's good learning, and no disrespect to anyone. This is great tutorial. I'll put a link to his tutorial at the bottom, and you guys please go and subscribe and drop a like. Very good tutorial. And then after he creates the world, right? Uh, he like in the example, right? He wants to constrain this world into another hex, right? In a hex itself, right? The entire tutorial is about even moving things up and down and whatnot, right? So, uh, yeah, he's using Mantaflow, the original creator, when Erindale tries to replicate. So he wants to now constrain it into this hexagon. Look at this preview. There's a lot of notes, a lot of math and whatnot. So when I personally saw this, it was exciting at the same time. It's very kind thing. So I'm gonna try to replicate this portion, just this portion, into a simpler way. How a beginner like me would probably approach it without killing myself, thinking about the math, right? So that's there's a lot of math here. It's like using gradient, texture, and whatnot. Oh god, I have no clue how to do it. Uh, I do not know if with my method I can continue on and then do this, this portion, but because when I reach this part, right? Sorry, when I reach this part, right? I got overwhelmed and I stopped, and then slept yesterday. And hey, what if I want to do this simpler way for a beginner? So I don't know if the way my method does it, I can continue on with the video. I haven't tried it yet, but I think you can. I think you can, but no, I'm not gonna cover that here in this video. So I'm gonna just cover it. How I would do this portion, uh, my way, right? Simpler, beginner, newbie way. So what I'm gonna do is let's open the geometry node. It's not a perfect node. I don't really need this. I don't know what they use for it. I know it shows the points and whatnot. So I'm gonna just delete everything, right? Right. And then I'm gonna add a mesh. I think I usually screw this up a lot. So I usually use a cylinder. So hopefully this time around, I'll make it work using a circle. Let me try using a circle. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna create the outline, the base, right? Like what Erindale did was he created the individual and populate it, and then he constrain it and mass it. So what we're gonna do is we start differently. We're gonna create the mass first, right? We're gonna create the mass first, um, and then we populate based on the points on this mass. Um, and let me tell you this: you probably can do what I'm doing here in geometry node uh, version, but I just don't know. I just started geometry nodes around 3 days ago, honestly, and I was looking at various video what you can do and whatnot, and I find it really interesting. So let me just do my way from a beginner's perspective. So I have this item. So let me just fill it up with faces, right? So if you look at the points, right? If you look at the points on this hexagon, um the points is here, 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 here. So we want points scattered over the face. How do I do that? Right. The easiest way to do that is using a subdivision surface, right? But the thing is, let's use simple. I don't want to distort the shape, right? So I use simple. Now, if I look at the subdivision, right? Turn off optimal display, and I turn on X-ray mode. As you can see, right, the distribution of this is not the evenness of the points, right? Distance is one. It's not the same. Okay? Like, doesn't seem strong. It doesn't seem even, right? So the reason for it is because um, this is what I understand, right? So from my understanding, the reason of it is because our initial phase, right? Our initial phase is not a square. How do I turn this into a square? Right? Simple. Let me just choose a face, right? The face here. What I'm gonna do first of all is I'll poke it. Poke is just making a point. So now I have these faces, right? Oh. And what if I subdivide this? Oh, it looks closely even, but it's not even, right? It's not even. It doesn't look right for me. So why is that? Because this is actually a triangle. Triangle doesn't really work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this triangle and dissolve it. So I choose these edges, right? Uh, this is not a Blender tutorial, by the way. It's just I'm trying to do what Erindale did, but no, simpler version. But I'll delete this. I can use delete dissolve edges, but what happened is it changes the shape, right? If I use dissolve delete edges, it maintains the shape, but the face is gone. There's no actual face, right? So you don't want to use that. what you do is you use limited solve. What this does is the face still exists. If I'm not mistaken, the face should still exist. Doesn't it? Doesn't. Yeah, the face is still exists. I'm using a wrong mode. You see. Yeah, the face still exists, but I can't see it for some reason. Oh, okay. So because when I use face mode, yes, you should see it, right? So the dot is the face. So now if I turn on subdivision, look at that. It's more even. The size of each sector is the same, right? So if I increase that, so I can use subdivision to do my work now. With geometry nodes, right? I don't want to use it here. I want to do the subdivision, but I want to do it programmatically in the geometry node. How do I do that? It's simple. So now I have the mass, which is this hexagon, right? So I got that already. So let me just remove this subdivision. Now I want to replicate. This is the base, right? Good. Now let's create our geometry node. Now we have the geometry. And we just want to replicate the subdivision. So it's easy. We just we just add our subdivision. Right? So now it's there. But there's no simple option. How do we get the simple option? So I don't want this. I want a simple option. I want to maintain. I want to maintain the structure. So how do I do that? Well, simple. I just increase the crease to maximum, and that's basically a simple. Right. Good. So now we have all these points on the ground. On the if we increase more, then we have points on the ground. So we have that now. So how do I put hacks on it? Well, that's another simple. If you go through Erindale's video, um, you know how to do this, and you have to look at geometry node basic as well to understand it. So, but I'm gonna put a geometry, a mesh, sorry, a mesh primitive, which is a cylinder. Right? I want that to spawn at every point, every vertex. Use this instead. Yeah, this vertex, this vertex. I want to spawn a hex. A hex is 6. I maintain the rest is the same. So I want to use this. How do I spawn it on a point? There's an easy answer for it in geometry node. Instance on points. Yeah, instance on point. It's like, oh my god, they think about everything. I love Blender. So now I have the instance on point here, right? So what instance do I want to put it on it? Well, I want to put my hex. And voila. Hex is on the point. Get that? The interesting part, right? I can still see the yeah. So the code. I don't know how I choose the initial geometry now. Right. So here's the thing. So I got the hex on it, but you look at it, right? It's overlapping, right? Because the points, right? We're putting a 1 meter radius cylinder on it. It's overlapping, obviously, because our mass size, which is the geometry, uh, is small. So we need to scale it. Right? Anyway, why do I have my calculator? So if we look at this, right? If I scale this, not in Z value. So the point, if I scale them, it becomes wider and wider. Let's use number 7. So what's the actual value? In my experimentation, I use 1.75. All right. Why 1.75? People may ask this. Why 1.75, Ismail? Well, there's an actual math for it. And based on this 1 meter, and then based on our circle radius, the circle that we make, the base. Yeah, let me show you the base. Yeah, this base, right? I'm sorry, this base. That's that's a distance. That's a what you call a math. How to get 1.75 from 1 meter and whatnot. Excuse me. Now, I don't want to talk about how to calculate. There's a whole topic how to calculate this load. And Erindale does a good job on explaining the math. But I'm a beginner. I have no clue. So I play around with the value, and I got 1.75. Right, assuming there's no subdivision. Right, if I put just on the basic point that we have this original point. Right, if I put a cylinder on each of these points. Right, if I put that, see this one, I put on this point. If you can see, this is like the center is not here, right? The center is not here. Uh, yeah, I think that's going to be a problem later on. But it's fine. I'll just show you the basic how I do it. You can actually increase this points, if I'm not mistaken, using set position, but we'll discuss it in another topic, right? So that's why. Excuse me. Uh, yeah. So based on 0 and 1, the amount of subdivision, we move it based on that, right? So this is 1.75 is something I like the number. I test it and I find it increasing. I find it very nice for me, right? What if I increase I put a subdivision on it? It overlaps. What's the new distance? Well, it turns out the new distance is just twice of this. How is it luck? Oh no, it's math. But like I say, I'm a beginner. I don't know. I plug it in, it works, and from there on, it's like, oh, okay, it's cool. So what about 3? It turns out if I take the previous value, I multiply by 2, and guess what? It evens it out. Great. So, right, I like to put a cavity on this one. Cavity. Right. It looks really nice, right? So that's how I would generate. But now, if I keep changing this and changing this, doesn't space out. How do I automate that? So, like I say, I use 1.75. So let me just show you the simple math. I think this one is basic math. That's why I can still understand it. Subdivision. Subdivision. So we have a subdivision 0 in this case. And I'll just put a few examples. So like I said, at subdivision 0, the distance is 0.175, right? That's what I use. At subdivision 1, I multiply by 2 just now. So what I did was I used this value and I multiplied by 2. I got the 0.35. And what about when I use 2 subdivision, which is in this case, the subdivision is, where did I put this subdivision? Yeah, this is 0. So if this 7, right? So when I use 2, so this is what I got. So when this is 2, this actually turns out to be twice of this. I can use one there. And then and so forth. Wait, did I multiply? Oh, it's not. It's 1.75, right? So So if I use 3 subdivision, I can show you a proof. Let me just copy this first. Let's go with 4. Just for proof of concept. So 4 is 28. So if I put it 28 here and change to 4, voila, perfect, perfect. So this is what I want. But how do I math this one out? It's simple. Like I said, it's based on the subdivision. So what number we use at this one determines the distance. Okay. So we want to put the input there, right? So let me just put 7 here. Wow. So this determines the input that we put. So how do we do that? So we need to use these levels and put it somewhere. So at the same time, I want it so that we can control the subdivision. So I plug it into move that there. Let me just plug it into the so we can control the levels, the geometry nodes. Nice, nice. So that's how we create a world. I want a huge place, a castle, maybe. There's other ways to do this. Actually, we can use masking with texture node, but I'm just replicating what Erindale did on that portion, just the initial portion. All right, so now I have that, which is done. So I have the levels. So for each level, I need to put this value in. So what is the math behind this? So first I need uh, to multiply this with this with this with this value times 2, this value times 2, and put it in the next. What is the math behind it? It turns out the math behind it is this value is if you look at this value, this is this value multiplied by 1. This value is multiplied by 2. So if you look at this, multiplied by 1, this value is multiplied by 2 when you multiply previous value, right? Oh, sorry. This value multiplied by 2. So this is not be 3. This is this one multiplied by 2. Keep getting this one is this, right? And where is it? Yeah, choose that. I have to press enter. Right. So this value is this multiplied by 2, this multiplied by 1. This value is the original value, the distance we set, right? Multiplied by 4. This distance is multiplied by 8, right? Just proof of concept. This one. Yeah. 8. And this one multiplied by 4, 8 multiplied by 16. That's how you get this value, right? So when you multiply things multiply times 2 previously, that's how you get. So it turns out the formula for it is called power. So if you take the number of power and you multiply with the subdivision, so that's the value. So the initial value, which is 1.75, we multiply by 1, we get 1.75. Multiply by, we get this, multiply by 4, and so forth. So to prove it, I'll just have this original value multiply with that power. Right? Wow, this is not an Excel tutorial, but this is so if you look at this, it's the same exact value where we plug in manually, plug in multiply by 2 before, right? So we only have one value, the initial value, and which we only need. Now if we multiply by the power, we'll get the value that matches it. So we don't need to key in this value manually. Just from 1.75 at the number of subdivision. So if I remove this, so just based on this number, which we set when we have zero subdivision, right? So I'll just use this. So like I said, when we had zero subdivision, if I use 1.75, that one is a perfect one that I want. Right? I can make it closer. There's an actual value that makes it like tight, but that's not the point. I want to do is I want to have some spacing, some cavity, right? We maybe 1.7. Ah, that must be the actual value. 1.74 closer. It has some gap, it's like that's how hex will should look like. It got some gaps. Okay, that's whatever value it is, right? It's 1.74. Like I said, we use it, we take the power of it is 2 to the power of whatever subdivision we have, right? So we have the levels here, so we can use that. So let's add a math node. Why is my cat noise? All right. Right. So now we take the power. I wish I can view. I know how to view the output of this, right? So we put the power into the exponent, like say is the base is 2. 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 1, and then that's the result. Now we multiply it with this value. Add another node. So power we use multiply. So the multiply this and put in the value. 74. Okay. Then we just plug it into the scale. And with that, this is the magic. We're basically done. Should we add this one? Make it easier. And voila. Ooh. Creation of the hex world using the size now bigger world. Great. Obviously, if I change the radius and whatnot, it screws up, and I have to change the number and whatnot, right? So that's you can put here, use this radius, and then get this value based on the formula and whatnot. That's the complicated part. Like in Erindale's video, I want 1.75. I don't like 1. Yeah, I like that. Right. So let me just def is fine. We can play, right. So now, like I said, it's a short video. How I did do it as a uh, uh, how I do it. So, and probably now, if you look at Erindale's video, you probably can continue it because this is based on instances. So you can put an index somehow on his. I haven't continued the video, to be honest. I just want to do this base one, which I like, and then for each individual, since we have the individual points for each one, right? Um, I maybe scale is not the proper one to use. It's actually a position is better, because we want to, well, scale and position. Well, it's actually correct, but I don't know how to do it yet. But based on that, but if you use index, right? If you take this individual instance, right, you probably can get the index from it, right? And you can scale based on that. And I think that will work, but I don't know how to do it yet. Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out this initial. So this is the way I would do it. There's probably another way. Like I said, we should be, instead of playing with scale, right? Mm, I think we should offset the distance. And I think there's an offset using set position on the instance, on the point. I can't remember how to do it. I saw some videos doing it, so that's how I would do it. But for the sake of how for this tutorial, I'll just leave it that way. So I hope you guys enjoy. I do urge to go to Erindale's video. I'll put a link in my YouTube, and subscribe to him because he has a lot of uh, videos about geometry. So this is how I do it. I hope you guys enjoy and learn a bit of how to do it in this tutorial. It's just a base one. So we'll figure out in the next video. We'll figure out also the way I do it. Everything is centered properly. Arrange's video is there's a math to move it to the center and whatnot. So this method I like, but I have to watch the further of the video and try to figure out how to do the rest. I'll try to continue that later on. So thank you very much stopping by for this quick tutorial. Hope you enjoy it. Drop a like. Feel free to subscribe. And I'll catch you guys later. Thank you.